Think you've seen strange coincidences in your life? Then hold on to this. A woman gets into a taxi thinking she's just going to cross the city and discovers that the driver knows things about her that no one should know. Full name, date of birth, the color of the coat she wore last week. And worse, the driver insists that the two have met before, but she swears she's never seen that face in her life. From that encounter, her life becomes a labyrinth of clues, surveillance, and a dirty secret buried under years of silence. Follow along. It was raining like the sky was falling when Emily Carter left the Maple Root Diner. She pulled up her hood, grabbed her bag, and ran to the curb. The cold wind clung to her jeans, and the street was practically empty. The only car that appeared was a faded yellow taxi, its lights flashing like a cry for help. Emily raised her hand. The car stopped slowly. She got in, not paying much attention to the driver. She just needed to get home, take a hot shower, and pretend the world wasn't demanding her head on a silver platter. "Good evening," she said, her voice tired. "Good evening, Miss Emily." It was only then that she looked up. Her stomach churned, and it wasn't because of his face, but because of the fact that he knew her name. "Excuse me, do we know each other?" Emily asked. He smiled. "Knowing each other is an understatement." She froze. "How do you know my name?" "You forgot me, but that's okay. I never forget my passengers." Emily rested her hand on the door handle. The door was locked. He had activated the central locking. "Could you unlock it, please?" "Oh, no, not yet," he said. "We need to talk first." She clenched her fist, feeling her nails dig into her palm. "Look, I don't know who you are, but you do know. You just don't want to admit it." Silence, dense, heavy, uncomfortable. The rain beat against the car roof like impatient fingers. "Take me home, that's all." "Which of the three?" he asked. Emily felt her breath catch in her throat. "What? You've moved 3 times in the last 4 years. Always small apartments, always near city exits. What are you running from, huh?" He turned his head slowly, too slowly, and stared at Emily as if he were looking inside her. "Who are you?" she almost whispered. "Just someone who was there." Shivers ran down her spine. Where? "The day it all started, the day of the accident." Emily swallowed hard. It wasn't possible. It wasn't. No one was there when it happened. No one but her and the victim. She shook her head. "You're mistaken. I remember the smell of gasoline, the smoke rising, the sound of the cell phone bouncing on the asphalt. You remember too, don't you?" The images hit her like a punch. Memories she buried every day like a shallow grave. Emily felt her chest tighten. "Take me home. Now." "Of course. But first, I need to ask you just one question." He pressed a button, and a metallic clatter cracked on the dashboard. "Why did you leave him there?" Emily's eyes widened. 1 second. 2. Her heart pounded in her ears. "You saw everything?" "I saw enough." Her hands trembled. "Who are you?" she repeated. "The first to arrive, the first to see you running, the first to realize you never told anyone the truth." Emily felt her stomach churn. The air felt heavy, impossible to breathe. "If you saw everything, why didn't you ever show up?" The taxi driver smiled slightly, as if the question were childish. "Because it wasn't the right time, and because some people prefer certain stories to remain buried." "People? What people?" "You know who I'm talking about." Emily looked out the window. The streetlights looked like neon blurs. The car veered off course, taking a route she never used. "Call the police," Emily thought. "Do something." But her cell phone was dead. She took a deep breath, trying to keep her voice steady. "What do you want?" "For you to stop running away." "Running away from what?" "From everything you did." "I didn't do anything." "Emily." His tone changed. It became almost gentle. "Don't start with that." She felt her throat burn. "You don't know what happened that day." "I know enough to know that you didn't tell the most important part." "What part?" "The part where you weren't alone." Emily's eyes widened. "How could you?" "I saw. There was someone else with you." "That's not true." "Yes, it is. And you know it." The car turned onto a back road. a scene that seemed straight out of a nightmare. She fastened her seatbelt. She glanced discreetly at the door lock, still locked. Where are you taking me? Back to the beginning. The beginning of what? The lie. Emily slapped the dashboard. Stop the car. No, I said stop. Not until you face what you did. She took a deep breath. She looked in the rearview mirror. His face seemed calm, too calm. You don't want to hurt me, do you? No, Emily. I want to set you free. She felt the tension in her ribs, the air rushing in sharply. Free from what? From the secret that haunts you. From the secret they need you to keep hiding. Who are they? You'll see, soon enough. But first, you need to tell me the truth. The car stopped, in the middle of nowhere. The engine hummed weakly, headlights illuminating a patch of wet grass. Get out, he said. Emily closed her eyes for half a second. If she gets out, she might die. If she stays, she might go crazy. She opened the door slowly. The cold air hit her face. The rain had turned into a fine, almost silent drizzle. The driver got out too. Here, he said. This is where I first saw you, on the side of the road. Crying, trembling, running away. Emily looked around. Empty road. No sign of civilization. This place, as she murmured. You recognized it, didn't you? He took a step forward. Emily stepped back. What happened here, Emily? Nothing you have any right to know. Yes, something did happen, and I know you weren't alone. He looked at the bushes, as if expecting to see someone coming out of them. Who was he? The taxi driver asked. There was nobody. Yes, there was, and I'm going to find out. Emily felt her blood boil. The fear was turning into something else. Anger. She took a step toward him. Listen to me. You're meddling in a story that doesn't belong to you. That's where you're wrong. This story belongs to everyone you put at risk. You? Emily, do you really think nobody but me knows the truth? She paled. Who else knows? People who are tired of being ignored, tired of taking the blame for others, tired of carrying dirty secrets of important people. Emily gasped. Important people. She knew exactly who he meant. What if he was involved? Suddenly everything made sense. The house move, the strange phone calls, the car that followed her 2 weeks ago, the files disappearing from the computer. Tell me the name, she asked. Who sent you after me? I don't take orders. Then why are you doing this? Because the truth needs to come out before it's too late. He held up his cell phone. He showed her the illuminated screen. You have two options, Emily. Either you tell me who was with you that night, or I'll send this video to the right people. Her eyes widened. Video? What video? He pressed play, and her blood ran cold. It was her, on the road, on the day of the accident, with another silhouette beside her, a male silhouette. Emily felt the world tilt. You filmed it. No, I found it. Where? In the hands of someone you least expect. Emily took a step forward, her voice faltering. Tell me who it was. The taxi driver smiled. No, you're going to tell me? I can't. Yes, you can, and you will. Emily took a deep breath, trying to hold back tears. If I tell you, will you promise to leave me alone? It doesn't depend only on me. Her face went colorless. He put his phone away. Let's go back to the car. It's not over yet. The taxi driver started the engine, and it roared in a tone that seemed almost impatient. Emily kept her eyes on the road, trying to pretend she still had some control over her own life. But she knew control was the only thing she didn't have at that moment. The taxi driver took a deep breath, as if preparing to force the truth out of someone. Emily, who was with you that night? I already told you there was no one, she insisted, feeling her stomach churn. You know what I think? He said, turning onto a sharp curve. I think you're protecting someone who doesn't deserve any protection. Emily pressed her fingers together. His name almost slipped out, but she held back, even if it cost her dearly. Keep saying I was with someone, she challenged. Then you tell me, who do you think it was? The taxi driver chuckled softly, as if he were enjoying the charade. You're trying to test me. It's cute, naive, but cute. Emily felt her face heat up, not from shame, but from anger. I'm telling you the truth. Then what explains this? He threw something into her lap. An envelope. Aged paper. No return address. Emily hesitated. Open it, he ordered. She opened it. Her heart almost jumped out of her chest. Inside were 3 photos. 3. The first, her, on the road, minutes after the accident. The second, her, inside her own car, with the broken window. The third, the male silhouette beside her, the same blur that the video showed. But there, it seemed clearer. Where did you get this from? Emily whispered. I told you. There are people interested in you. People who take better photos than me even. But who are they? The taxi driver looked into the distance, as if watching a movie through the window. Let's just say they're people who have old scores to settle. Scores that involve you and the man in the photo. Emily looked at the silhouette. The back of her neck tingled. Her breath became short and hot. It wasn't him, she said softly, as if talking to herself. Then who was it? The taxi driver retorted, leaning towards her. Emily pushed the envelope back. Leave me alone. He laughed. He really laughed. Loud, wide, too loud for someone who was alone with a frightened person in the rain. Emily, 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 do you think I came all this way to leave you alone? He turned the car onto an even narrower road. The trees looked like dark claws trying to grab the taxi. You didn't notice, did you? He continued. You're a piece in a much bigger game. And that game started at the Maple Root Diner. Her stomach turned to pure ice. The restaurant? Uh-huh. A charming little place, isn't it? He said sarcastically. But that's where everyone meets. That's where the conversations happen. That's where some contracts are made, including yours. I didn't make any contract. You didn't? He laughed. And who do you think paid that absurd bill on the day of the accident? You. Please. Emily shuddered. What bill? You really think nobody tracks large transactions? He provoked. Someone paid for you to disappear quickly, very quickly. Before the questions started to arise, Emily felt her mouth go dry. It couldn't be him, it couldn't. You're lying, she said, not believing even her own voice. I'm not. But look, since you want to deny it so much, let me show you something else. He held up a badge hanging from the rearview mirror. Emily felt the world stop. It was a restricted access badge from Nexus Group. How did you get that? She asked in a whisper. I didn't get it, he said. I worked there. Emily gasped. Nexus Group, the company she avoided mentioning, the name that made her sweat, the place that knew too much about too many people. You were with Nexus last year, before they dumped me. But I'm stubborn. I kept too much for them to be okay with. That's crazy. Crazy is you thinking you can escape them alone. The road narrowed. The rain got heavier. The car went faster. Why are you doing this to me? She asked, her voice trembling. Because you were the only loose link. And you think they were going to let it go like that? Emily closed her eyes for a second. A memory exploded in her head like a flash. Him, on the shoulder of the road, yelling for her to run. His voice choked with emotion. The sound of the impact, the smoke. She opened her eyes again. I can't tell you what happened. You don't understand. Then make me understand, the taxi driver retorted, staring at her in the rearview mirror. If I tell you, they'll kill him. The taxi driver smiled. He's already dead, Emily. She felt the air disappear. Don't say that, but it's true. Nexus doesn't leave any living remains. You don't know anything. Yes, I do. And I know you were too traumatized to see the most obvious message in the world. They used you and him. Emily slammed her fist on the dashboard. Take me home now. No, not until you accept the truth. He braked sharply. The car skidded and stopped on the shoulder near a broken fence. The same place, the exact spot of the accident. Emily turned pale. Why did you bring me here again? She asked, almost voiceless. The taxi driver took a deep breath, as if determined to end this charade. Because we're going to relive that night, step by step. I'm not going to... Yes, you are. The taxi driver slowly opened the door. Emily felt her legs weaken, but she got out. The taxi driver pointed to the road. "It's over there, in the middle, just like that day." Emily hesitated. "Now," he said, in a tone that didn't allow for discussion. She stayed. The rain dripped onto her forehead, running down her eyes. The taxi driver walked around her, observing her every movement. "You were here, trembling, scared, and you didn't know whether to call for help or run away." "I called for help," Emily murmured, "and ran away right after." "I didn't run away. I ran. It's different." "It is, of course," he laughed. "And this man here?" He tossed her another photo. Emily looked. Her heart skipped a beat. It wasn't the same man from the first photo. It was another one, another face, another silhouette. "Who are these people?" she asked, almost pleading. "Exactly. That's the problem. With each new piece of evidence, the man changes." Emily felt a chill run down her spine. "This isn't possible, isn't it?" the taxi driver asked, raising an eyebrow. "Or do you just not want to see that someone is manipulating all of this?" Emily put her hand to her mouth. Someone was altering the photos. Someone was fabricating the truth. "Why?" Emily murmured. "Why would they do this to me?" The taxi driver gave a sad smile. "Haven't you realized yet? You're not the culprit. You're the witness." Emily stopped. Her hand fell. Her gaze trembled. "Witness to what?" The taxi driver didn't answer immediately. He walked to the broken rearview mirror on the fence. He ran his finger over the rust. Then he looked at her. "Witness to something Nexus erased from the records. Something you saw, but completely blocked out." Emily took a deep breath. "Tell me what I saw." "I can't." "Yes, you can." "No, because I wasn't there." Emily's eyes widened. "What do you mean?" The taxi driver finally leaned against the car, hands in his pockets, serious face. "Emily, I never said it was me who was there that night. I said I saw, but I didn't say I was present. I saw later. I saw the material, I saw the files, before they deleted everything." Emily felt the world shake. "So why are you doing this to me?" "Because they're coming after you, and I'm the only one who can prepare you." "Prepare for what?" "For when they arrive." Thunder rumbled in the sky. The wind whipped fiercely. Emily felt a chill run through her body. "When? Who arrives?" The taxi driver approached, slowly, eyes fixed on hers. "Those who want you alive." Pause, a crooked smile. "And those who want you dead." The taxi driver, without any hurry, tilted his head as if he were just observing an interesting piece of a puzzle. "Are you telling me," Emily almost choked, "that there are two groups after me?" "Uh-huh," he replied, as if commenting on the weather. "One wants you alive. The other wants you completely wiped off the map." Emily felt her legs go weak. "Why?" "Because you saw something you shouldn't have," he said, pointing to the wet road. "Something that Nexus buried so deep that not even the new employees know it existed." "And what did I see?" she insisted, her voice trembling. "I already told you. I can't tell you." "Why?" "Because the memory needs to come from you," he retorted. "If I tell you, you'll doubt it. If it comes from you, you won't escape." Emily ran her hand over her wet face. The cold, the rain, the fear, everything seemed mixed together. The taxi driver took a deep breath and continued. "Emily, that day you weren't running from an accident. You were running from them." Her throat tightened. "From who?" "The containment team." Her expression twisted. "Containment team? What does that mean?" "It means exactly what it sounds like," said the taxi driver, walking to the broken fence. "When Nexus wants to erase an incident, they send this team. They clean everything up, and when I say everything, I mean everything." Emily clenched her fists. "I've never seen any team." "Because you had already run when they arrived." She stood still, completely. "I ran." "You ran like your life depended on it." Emily put her hand to her head. A flash, a fragment, a quick, blurry memory, but present. Her running through the bushes, short breaths, a headlight behind her, a male voice shouting, "Go, now!" Her heart pounded. "I remembers a little, she murmured. Great, you're coming back, the taxi driver said with a satisfied smile. And it's going to get worse. Emily didn't like how he said these things, as if he were preparing the ground for something she didn't want to find out. The rain lessened a little, but the silence grew even heavier. Tell me something, he said, leaning against the car. Do you remember the man on the road? The one with the blurred shadow? I remember. And do you remember his voice? Emily closed her eyes. The voice. She remembered the voice, not enough to recognize it, but enough to feel a terrible chill inside. It was someone I knew, she murmured. It was, the taxi driver confirmed, but you don't remember why you knew him. Emily opened her eyes, disturbed. Who was he? Emily, the taxi driver smiled. If I tell you now, you'll faint right here in the middle of the road. Tell me, she shouted. He raised an eyebrow. You're not ready yet. Emily lunged toward him. I am ready! You have no right to hide this from me. I deserve to know. The taxi driver didn't back down. He simply observed her reaction as if evaluating an experiment. Emily, Nexus erased information from your mind. You think it was just trauma? It wasn't. They tampered with your neurological record, she gasped. What do you mean? They tampered with my mind. A partial wipe, nothing too deep. Just enough to remove what they couldn't risk you remembering. Emily shook her head in denial. This isn't real. This is impossible. Oh, darling, if you knew what they do in there, you wouldn't call it impossible. You'd call it a normal Tuesday. Emily took 2 steps back. Her body trembled. A feeling of helplessness rose like a wave. Why me? She asked in a whisper. Why mess with me? Because you saw something you shouldn't have, and you survived. And that's rare. Emily hugged herself. I don't remember anything, nothing. But you will remember. And when you do, everything will make sense. Emily took a deep breath, trying to compose herself. Okay. Let's suppose that's true. That they messed with my head. That I saw something. Right. So, why did you bring me here? To unlock it. Memory works through triggers, and this place is a trigger. The main one, the exact spot where the car rolled over, where she ran, where the man stayed behind. The man, Emily whispered, he stayed here. He stayed, said the taxi driver, and that's all you consciously remember. But there's more. Emily closed her eyes and took a deep breath. Another flash, a bright light, screams. 2 men in black getting out of a vehicle, the shadow man pushing her off the road. Run, Emily, go! I'll hold them off. She opened her eyes, breathless. He tried to protect me. He tried, said the taxi driver with an almost pitying air. But he couldn't for long. What happened to him? That's where the story gets complicated. Complicated how? Complicated in the way you don't know if you really want to hear it. Emily stared at him, fixed eyes, determined. I want to hear it. The taxi driver sighed. Okay, I'll give you part of the truth. Just part. The rest, you'll have to pull from your memory yourself. Emily swallowed hard. Speak. The shadow man wasn't someone from Nexus. She raised her eyebrows. No, he confirmed. He was from outside. From outside, like another company? No, Emily, from an independent group, a group that Nexus considers a real threat. Emily was quiet, trying to connect the pieces. So, he was an enemy of Nexus? The best definition would be rival, slightly terrorist, intensely inconvenient, and extremely good at finding out what he shouldn't. Emily's eyes widened. He was an infiltrator. More than that, he was collecting something, sensitive information. And me, you were in the wrong place at the wrong time, and you saw their meeting with him. Emily took a step back. I saw what exactly? Something that would bring down the entire Nexus if it came to light. Emily felt a chill run down her spine. I saw a crime? Worse. Worse how? Worse in an experimental way. Emily brought her hand to her mouth. No. Yes, he confirmed calmly. And when you saw it, you became a witness. Witnesses, the nexus erases, but for some reason they couldn't complete the process with you. Why not? Because he took you out of there. He grabbed you by the arm, dragged you outside, threw you in the car and told you to run. Emily squeezed her eyes shut, forcing her memory. Another flash. She was in the car, crying, trembling hands on the steering wheel, him banging on the window. Go, go, go! A gunshot, a dry sound, his body falling. Emily opened her eyes immediately. She almost fell backward. I heard a gunshot, she whispered. You did. And he fell, the taxi driver confirmed. Emily felt her whole body freeze. Then he died. I never said that. Emily blinked. What do you mean? I said he fell, not that he died. Do you know what happened to him? I do. And are you going to tell me? Not now. She almost exploded. Why not? Because that's the part of the story you can only bear to hear at the end. I can bear it now. No, you can barely bear the beginning. Emily was breathing too fast, her chest rising and falling. The taxi driver raised his hand. Calm down. You need to think, not feel. Emily stared at him, full of tears, anger, and fear all at once. Take me away from here. Not yet. I want to leave. Emily, do you think you have a choice? He pointed to the road. Do you think that if I leave you at your doorstep, they won't get you? She shuddered. What are you saying? I'm saying that now you only have two paths. Pause. He raised two fingers. Path 1. Continue pretending nothing happened and die in a matter of days. And path 2? She asked, almost voicelessly. Remember everything. Pause. And survive. Emily's breath hitched. How do I do that? We're going back to the Maple Root Diner. Emily blinked, confused. The restaurant? Yes, he said, because that's where it all started. That's where you saw what you shouldn't have. That's where your life turned into this hell. And that's where you're going to remember. Emily took a step back. I don't want to go back there. You'll have to. There's no alternative. She bit her lower lip nervously. What if it's a trap? Emily, the taxi driver, smiled ironically. At this point, everything is a trap. She felt a shiver run down her spine. Shall we go now? Not now. You're not ready. When then? When you stop running from the truth. Emily took a deep breath. I'm not running. You are. I'm not. Then why are you trembling? Emily looked at her own hands, and yes, they were trembling. Because I'm afraid. Great, he said. Fear is what makes people remember. Emily swallowed hard. Just answer me one last thing, she said. Are you on my side? He gave a slow smile, ambiguous, cruel and gentle at the same time. Emily, I'm not on your side. Pause, eyes on hers. I'm on the side of truth. And before she could say anything, he got into the car. Get in. We'll continue this somewhere less wet. Emily stood there, hesitant, trembling, lost, but she got in. The engine started. The rain began to fall again, and the taxi disappeared down the dark road, taking with it the only person who seemed to know the truth, and the woman who finally needed to face it. The doorbell above the Maple Root Diner rang again. It wasn't the old couple. It wasn't some traveler asking for coffee to face the road, nor a trucker wanting rest. It was him. The taxi driver entered like someone who already knew that floor, that smell, that yellow light fixed to the ceiling. He stopped for a second, scanning the room with tired eyes, always very attentive, alert, calculating. Emily felt her stomach clench. It was involuntary. It was instinctive. It was her body understanding before her mind. The man walked to the counter with slow, firm steps. That kind of step of someone who is in no hurry because they know exactly what they are getting into. Emily forced a polite smile, but something inside her whispered, "He's back too early." "Good evening," he said, his voice deep yet controlled, like someone who measures each word before releasing it. "Good evening," Emily replied. "Did you forget something in the taxi?" He looked up at her, and in that look there was something strange, not hostility, not sympathy, something in between, something too neutral to the point of seeming rehearsed. "I drive," I don't take taxis, he said, and the sentence sounded like a riddle. I think you're mistaken. Emily froze. What do you mean? He wasn't the passenger, but she saw his face in the window, saw him get out of the car, saw his shadow enter the parking lot. Everything was clear in her memory, crystal clear, too vivid to be imagination. Excuse me, she said, unable to hide her bewilderment. Perhaps it was someone else who looked similar. Similar. The word kept echoing. It was like calling an earthquake a small tremor. He sat at the counter, took his wallet out of his pocket, and pulled out a worn plastic card, marked with use, as if someone ran their fingers over it very frequently. A coffee, black, he ordered. Emily served. Her hands trembled only slightly, but enough for him to notice. He observed the slight tremor. He observed everything. He seemed to register every micro-expression, every involuntary movement, like someone trained to read the world. You're nervous, he commented. Emily swallowed hard. Just tired. Long shift. He stirred the coffee, slowly, too slowly. The road is tiring. The night is even more tiring, he said, still looking at the dark liquid swirling in the cup. Sometimes, when the body is tired, the mind starts seeing things that aren't there. The sentence hit Emily like a punch. What exactly was that man talking about? The face in the window, the figure behind the truck, the lights in the parking lot, the whisper she swore she heard? I don't know what you're talking about, Emily replied, trying to keep her tone neutral. The taxi driver slowly raised his eyes, as if he had been waiting for this exact moment. Of course you know. Silence. A silence that seemed to weigh several kilos. She tried to change the subject. Are you from around here? She asked to lighten the mood. He took a deep breath, resting his forearms on the counter. I used to be. One day, a long time ago, before certain things happened around here. Emily felt a cold current run down her spine. What kind of things? He gave a small smile, a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Things that time likes to hide, but some places don't forget. He paused, and some people don't either. Emily recoiled slightly. The entire diner suddenly seemed smaller, as if the walls had closed in by an inch. The sounds became more muffled. The clock on the wall read 2:57 a.m., and the ticking seemed louder than usual. The taxi driver picked up a spoon and tapped the glass lightly 3 times. Tack, tack, tack. You know, he began. Years ago, there was a girl who worked here, very similar to you. He tilted his head. She disappeared. Emily felt her throat tighten. Disappeared, she repeated, almost whispering. She vanished one rainy night, left everything behind. Coat, purse, even the dishes she was washing were still in the sink, covered in foam. He took a sip, but they didn't let her disappear on her own. Someone came to get her. Another pause, and nobody saw anything else. Emily gripped the counter to hide her weakening legs. This is serious, she asked, her voice faltering. Very serious. She hesitated before asking, and did they find who did this? He seemed to be expecting exactly that question. No, a silence. They never found it. The wind blew outside, making the door sway slightly. Emily turned reflexively, and it was in that instant, precisely in that second of distraction, that she noticed something that chilled her blood. The taxi driver was no longer sitting as before. He was a little closer, leaning forward, as if studying her reaction. What is it? He asked, his voice low, almost too soft. Emily forced an automatic smile. Nothing. I just heard the door. Heard it or imagined it. That sentence affected her deeply. It was as if he were poking at exactly the point that made her vulnerable. The fear that all of this was a result of exhaustion, of late-night paranoia, or worse, that it wasn't. Emily tried to cut the conversation short. Do you need anything else? Actually, yes. He pulled out the same worn-out card again, flipped it over on the table. On the back was a handwritten phone number and a name. If you see anything strange in the parking lot, anything that seems out of the ordinary, He pushed the card toward her. "Call me." Emily didn't touch the card. "Why?" she asked. The man kept his gaze steady. "Because things are starting again." Silence. A silence that seemed to announce something. He placed some notes on the counter, stood up and walked to the door. Before leaving, he turned and added, "And the next time you think you saw me," a deep, enigmatic look, "be sure of that." Emily took a deep breath, resting her hand on the card. Her fingertips touched the name written in pen. The name wasn't his. It didn't match what he'd said. It made no sense at all. And before she could think better, the kitchen door creaked open, as if someone were pushing from the inside. Emily turned immediately, and in the dark doorway was the silhouette of someone standing there, motionless, watching. Emily stared at the kitchen gap as if staring into an abyss. The silhouette was there, still, moving, not breathing perceptibly, not making a single sound. The restaurant light didn't reach the back of the kitchen. The darkness seemed solid, as if it had weight. The figure was exactly on the border, where the light ends and the dark begins, motionless like a photograph. "Is anyone there?" Emily asked, her voice faltering midway. The figure didn't answer. It just remained there, watching or waiting. She didn't know. Emily took a step back, resting her hand on the counter without taking her eyes off the figure. Every cell in her body said the same thing: run. But she couldn't simply flee her own workplace. Not at that hour. Not alone in the middle of the road. Her hand trembled as she reached for the restaurant's phone. It was the only thing that made sense. Calling someone. Who? The police, the card number. Anything was better than facing that shadow alone. But when she glanced at the phone, the shadow moved. A single step forward. Emily almost dropped the phone. "Hey!" she said firmly, trying to regain some control. "If this is a joke, it's not funny." The figure stopped. Now she could make it out a little better, not by its features, but by its outline. It was a person of average height, shoulders slightly hunched forward, like someone carrying too much weight, whether physical or emotional. The posture wasn't aggressive, but it wasn't friendly either. It was something in between, something deeply unbalanced. Emily took a deep breath and took 2 steps toward the kitchen, gathering courage. She needed to be sure her eyes weren't playing tricks on her. She needed to know if this was real or just exhaustion turning shadows into monsters. When she got close enough to make it out better, the figure took a step back, then another and another, as if retreating into the darkness. Emily stopped immediately. "No!" she said, almost pleading. She didn't know why, but the idea of that thing or person disappearing into the darkness was worse than it remaining there. "Come back here. Who are you?" No answer. The silence seemed to swallow everything. Emily took half a step forward, hesitant, calculated, when a sound echoed from inside the kitchen. Plim. Something small and metallic had fallen to the floor. She almost recoiled, but forced herself to move forward a few more inches, enough to see what had fallen. A keychain, with a single keychain hanging from it. But it wasn't an ordinary keychain. It was an old taxi button, faded yellow, with the number 27 engraved on it. A shiver ran down Emily's spine. She slowly bent down and picked up the object, and the very second her fingers closed around the keychain, a door slammed shut at the back of the kitchen. Hardly, urgently, as if someone had slammed it shut to prevent her from seeing something. Emily jumped back. The keychain almost fell from her hand. "No!" she screamed, her heart racing. She ran to the end of the counter, turned around, and burst into the kitchen, ignoring the instinct that screamed at her not to. Flickering fluorescent light, sink full of dishes, smell of stale coffee, and nothing, nobody. The door that had slammed shut led to the storage room. The wood was vibrating slightly, as if someone had just let go of it. Emily turned the doorknob suddenly, but it jammed, and there it remained, her hand still, in silence, listening. The air behind the door seemed alive, as if someone were breathing on the other side. "I'll call the police," she warned loudly. "I'm serious. Get out of here!" No answer, but something changed. A minimal, almost imperceptible noise, like fabric scraping against wood, echoed from inside. Emily took a step back, and then the door opened by itself, slowly, millimeter by millimeter, until it revealed nothing. A narrow corridor full of boxes, completely empty. Emily entered slowly. Her footsteps echoed too loudly. The place seemed larger than it should be, as if the building's architecture had stretched during the early morning hours. She breathed quickly but silently. That's when something caught her attention. On the floor, right on the border between the storage room and the kitchen, a shoe print, fresh enough to have been left in the last few minutes. Emily looked around. Nobody. She looked at the print on the floor. She looked at the keychain in her hand. She looked at the open door behind her, and she had a certainty as clear as a slap in the face. The figure in the kitchen was not the taxi driver. It was someone else, or something else, and whatever it was inside the Maple Root diner with her. Emily felt her breath catch, and then she noticed something else, something much worse. The mark on the floor wasn't from an ordinary shoe. It wasn't a boot. It wasn't a sneaker. It was a dress shoe, an old model, the kind nobody wears anymore, driving around at dawn. And what chilled Emily completely was the pattern on the sole. She knew that pattern. She'd seen it before, hours ago. It was the same shoe as the girl in the old portrait on the wall. The portrait of the missing employee. The girl who disappeared years ago. The girl very similar to her, according to the taxi driver. The girl who left everything behind, including the dishes in the sink. Emily felt her whole body tremble. "It can't be," she whispered. Suddenly, the doorbell of the restaurant rang out front. Ding! Someone had entered. Emily turned immediately, and when she looked out of the storeroom, there was the taxi driver, standing in the middle of the room, alone, motionless, staring directly at the corridor where she was, as if he knew exactly where she had gone, as if he were waiting for her to find out. He spoke without raising his voice. "I told you some things were coming back, and it seems you finally understood."